Hey everybody, so I just changed out my Amsoil oil filter, which is said to be good for 25,000 miles, which I'm sure it is. What I did was I ran Amsoil Signature Series 5W30 in my 2007 Ford Ranger with the 4.0 V6 SOHC. I got about 115,000 miles on it now. I changed the oil about 5,000 miles ago, and this guy Eben, who I don't know if he's a salesman or he's like a salesman for Amsoil on YouTube, he was suggesting that I changed my oil filter out at 5,000 because, or well, not at 5,000, I'm sorry. He said if the oil was dark, change the oil filter out and it would clear up. And because I wasn't using Amsoil before this, I figured probably a good idea, just change it out, and the oil was really dark. So I noticed, well, okay, I'll start here. The oil that I used, I've used kind of a mix for a while now. I started with synthetic blend in this vehicle, and I went to full synthetic. I was using Motorcraft, and then I just used full synthetic, whatever I could get on sale at the auto parts store. So I don't know if it was like CarQuest brand or I don't even remember what brand it was, but I'd use that. I changed it out every 5,000. I'd use either a I almost always used a Motorcraft filter or a perlite. I think once or twice I used a perlator filter, which I hear are about the same. So yeah, anyway, I changed over to this. I thought because I wasn't using Amsoil and these other oils, they don't have the cleaners in them that Amsoil has. And because Amsoil, this filter, I forget exactly how much finer, but it filters finer than the Motorcraft filters. I thought it'd be, yeah, it's probably a good idea, as Eben suggested, to change it out. So I changed it out. I always fill them. I always put at least a little bit of oil in before I screw them on, so I put a little bit of new oil in, but I'm gonna run this till 10,000 miles, I think, and then I'm gonna change it out. I might send it in to be tested. The vehicle owner's manual recommends every 5,000 miles to change the oil, but you know, that was really back in the days of everybody was using either conventional or synthetic blend, and some people were using synthetic, but you know, not even the 100% synthetic, but the full synthetic at the auto parts store. So yeah, I'm gonna push this to 10,000. I do a lot of highway miles too, which is a lot less wear on your engine, so I'm gonna push it at least 10,000. So yeah, 5,000. Just yesterday I changed this out. I wanted to take it apart and take a look at it. I ended up using, I know they sell cutters for oil filters, but I don't have one, so I used just a regular metal saw. I cut the top all the way around, popped it apart, and yeah, the filter definitely looks a little grungy. I don't know what is, I hit that with a screwdriver, that's why it looks like that. I don't know what's acceptable or not, but that's kind of, yeah. And again, changing over from an oil with less, I don't know if it's less cleaner or just a lower grade of cleaners in the oil detergents, and the engine having over 100,000 miles on it, I'm sure there's carbon inside, so I figured, yeah, change it out. And yeah, I don't know, I guess I could take this apart and squeeze it in a vise, right? Isn't that what Project Farm on YouTube does? But yeah, I just wanted to show that the oil in the engine is, when I checked on the dipstick, it's probably just a shade lighter than this, but it's pretty dark. I'm thinking this is so dark because it's what came from the filter, but yeah, so there's definitely some grit on there, but that probably happened almost instantly, I would think, after changing the oil. So
But yeah, any questions on this or any tips? Because I'm not super familiar with Amsoil. I've read up on it, but I've never used it before this. In this particular, by the way, just to give you an idea, this particular engine has 4 timing chains, and if they ever, what happened was in the late 90s and early 2000s up until about 2003, like I said, this is an '07. It should be okay. I've heard of these engines going, some of them 300, 400,000 miles, but some people have had major problems with the timing chain guides. So what happens, I'm told, is the timing chain guides are some of them, the early ones were really cheaply made. The later models were a little bit better, but they're not quite as good as they could be. They're made out of plastic. But there's timing tensioners on the outside of the engine that you can unscrew, and I'm getting ready to change those out too, because what happens is the spring gets weak. So when you start the engine, the spring is what holds the timing chain guide up against the timing chain and keeps it where it should be. But over time, the spring gets weak. It's after the engine's running, you get oil pressure, and that's what holds it. But upon startup, it's the spring that does it. But after tens of thousands of miles, the spring weakens, so some people change them out. Some people don't probably most people don't bother. But I'm told some people change them out at like 75,000 miles. Some people wait a little longer. I'm going to change them out when I get some more time to do it. So yeah, that's the story with that. To change the timing chains, I think the front ones you can do with the engine in the vehicle, but it's kind of tight. To do the back ones, you pretty much got to pull the engine or the transmission, but I guess it's easier to get at if you pull the engine. Not cheap. What can also happen, if something happens where the timing chain breaks or slips, you could crash valves, you could basically destroy the engine, and you're talking thousands of dollars to fix that problem. So, and often by the time that happens, the vehicle's well out of warranty, and it's like, do you really want to put that kind of money into it? So I'm trying to prolong the life of the vehicle. I might hang on to it for, it's in good condition, but everything gets old. I might hang on to it for another, 10 years or something, but yeah, so that's probably the fatal flaw with those engines. The timing chain guides go out, and then you're in trouble. So I'm hoping that Amsoil will help keep things lubed up and cleaned up inside the engine, because that's another thing I heard. In the 90s, when people were using conventional oil in these engines, they would recommend, I don't know if Ford recommended, but a lot of people that were familiar with these particular engines, they would recommend changing the oil out every 3,000 miles religiously with conventional oil, just to keep carbon from building up. Because one of the things that would happen too, I guess, is carbon would build up. Oil pressure wouldn't be getting up into the tensioners, and so when the vehicle was running, you had oil pressure, it wouldn't be getting to the tensioners, and the springs only did so much, and that would also cause those to fail, I hear. So, always a good thing to keep less carbon in the engine, right? I did have an older vehicle that my dad bought new, and we only changed the oil and filter every, and I think once or twice. He didn't even change the filter. In the old days, people would sometimes skip doing the filter. I don't know, but I think we went usually around 6,000 miles, give or take 1,000 miles, every time we changed the oil, and that was with conventional. And I got I think about 185,000 miles out of it before I sold it. It was still running, and it was 21 years old, and it had one timing chain. It was just a simpler setup. But I remember when I did valve cover gaskets on that engine, it was all carbon, like caked inside the valve covers, on the top of the heads. But hey, it ran. I mean, so I don't know. It's like things got more complicated, so you got to be pickier with exactly.
how you maintain them, I guess.